Здравейте! В днешния урок ще се запознаем с това как да проведем успешно интервю за работа на английски език. Job Interviews. Урокът е разделен на три части. В първата ще се запознаем с някои основни термини, които е добре да използвате по време на интервю. През втората част ще видим какви са основните стъпки в подготовката за интервю за работа. А през третата част ще отговорим на някои от основните въпроси, които се задават по време на интервю за работа. When preparing for a job interview, it's important to not only prepare answers for potential questions, but that you also practice using effective vocabulary. Using the right words to describe your qualities and relative professional experiences will help convey your professionalism during an interview. By reviewing interview vocabulary words, you can practice using them before your interview and present yourself as a qualified candidate to an employer. Interview vocabulary is any word or phrase job candidates use during interviews to describe their skills, previous professional experiences, and traits that align with the company's mission or values. Why is it important to have a good interview vocabulary? Having a good interview vocabulary is important because it can affect various factors. Here are some examples of how using the right interview vocabulary can benefit you. Presents you as a well-spoken individual. Using the right words to describe yourself and your experiences shows employers that you have excellent verbal communication skills and can represent their company professionally. Helps interviewers compare your values to the company's values. Using vocabulary words that reflect company values allows interviewers to envision how you could contribute to their company. For example, if a company prides itself on transparency, you could use the word transparent to describe one of your job duties or personal traits. Provides a more detailed understanding of previous job duties. The right interview vocabulary words allow you to give the interviewers an in-depth view of your previous work experiences, much like you would by using certain words on your resume. One example would be if you replace the communicated with negotiated to describe your previous job duties in client relations. Conveys your emotions about the job or an experience. You can also use interview vocabulary words to show an employer how interested you are in the job position or the company you are interviewing with. This can ultimately affect whether they consider you over another qualified candidate who didn't seem as enthusiastic about the job in question. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates leadership capabilities. Negotiated. Negotiate означава преговарям. In my previous job, I negotiated client contracts to find a price point that worked best for their needs. Supervised. Supervise, надзиравам, ръководя. I supervised a team of 10 product engineers throughout the design and testing phases for prototypes. Coordinated. Coordinate, координирам, съгласувам. I was responsible for coordinating department activities in the absence of my direct superior. Monitored. Monitor означава наблюдавам. I monitored 3 of our major accounts to check for transaction errors or outstanding debts. Managed. Manage. Управлявам. I had the pleasure of managing the daily activities of 25 employees during my time as a sales manager. Pioneered. Pioneer, инициирам, въвеждам. I pioneered a new task delegation system to enhance department productivity by 15%. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates dependability. Loyal, veren, predan, lojalen. I would describe myself as a loyal individual who goes above and beyond to help others in the workplace. Punctual, tochen precisen. I'm always punctual whether it's getting to work on time or meeting deadlines because I have a deep respect for my coworkers and the company I work for. Responsible, odgovoren. In my previous job, I was responsible for handling payroll processing and preparing checks before paydays. Accessible, dostupen, dostижим. I like to make myself accessible to new employees to help them feel welcomed and supported. I do this by sending them a welcome email, stopping by their desk, and keeping my office door open for any questions they may have. Consistent, последователен, принципен. I am a very consistent employee and others can always count on me to hit my quotas and produce quality work. Trustworthy, надежден. I believe that one of my most marketable qualities is trustworthiness. I always respect the privacy of others and I understand how important it is to refrain from speaking about confidential business information. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates enthusiasm. Excited, развълнуван. I always get excited when faced with a new project or challenge to overcome because I know I have the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and expand my skill sets. Invigorated, зареждам с сили. My favorite part of the event planning process is event setup because it always invigorates me and makes me want to put on the best event possible for our clients. Fascinated, очарован. I am fascinated by consumer trends and how they evolve. It fuels my motivation to perform research tasks. Optimistic, optimistичен. One of my best strengths is that I have an optimistic mindset. It enables me to persevere through challenging projects and help others see things positively. Persevere means упорствам, постоянствам. Eager, нетърпелив. I am eager to apply my customer service skills and assist customers with troubleshooting technical issues. Passionate, имам страст към. I'm extremely passionate about public health. I specifically love to complete research on local health trends and develop programs to increase healthy living habits. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates cultural fit. Accountable, отговорен. I always hold myself accountable to ensure that I meet deadlines and own up to my mistakes. Transparent, ясен, открит. I believe transparency is important when overseeing organizational changes. It allows for continued trust between employees and management and helps employees understand the purpose of sudden changes in budgeting or work activities. Open-minded, непредубеден. I think it's important to be open-minded to new ideas and opinions because your ability to take on new challenges or roles influences your ability to evolve with your company to accommodate its goals. Innovative, иновативен, новаторски. In my previous job as an HR generalist, I worked hard to create innovative onboarding procedures that significantly enhanced the hiring process. Committed, посветен на, отдаден на. I'm committed to providing superb customer service in my role as a customer service representative. Respectful, уважителен. I believe that respect is key to maintaining coworker relationships and customer satisfaction. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates industry knowledge. Marketed. Продавам, пласирам. In my previous job, I marketed medical tools and equipment on behalf of medical suppliers and pharmaceutical companies. Programmed, програмирам. I programmed computer software for HR and customer service professionals to use. Recruited. Набирам, наемам. I recruited over 50 employees to work for my previous employer, and to my knowledge, 43 of those hires are still there. Calibrated. Калибрирам, настройвам. I was responsible for calibrating CNC machines to maintain quality production while meeting production quotas. Scheduled. Планирам. I scheduled all rentals for our sports complex and adjusted calendars depending on cancellations. Graded. Оценявам. I graded countless reading responses and creative writing assignments following curriculum guidelines and expectations. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates successfulness. Accomplished, постигам, реализирам. I accomplished several things during my time there, including scanning and organizing all files into a digital filing system and creating an employee feedback channel. Delivered on, спазвам, изпълнявам. I delivered on my promise to satisfy a client and got their contract renewed for another 3 years. Resolved, разрешавам. I resolved a product defect and made the design even better in the process. Increased, увеличавам. I increased my monthly sales quota by 15%. Strengthened, укрепвам, засилвам. I strengthened our business's communication channels by programming an internal system. Discovered, откривам. I discovered a new reward system that motivated my team to enhance their work efforts by 20%. Interview vocabulary that demonstrates teamwork. Supported, подкрепям. When working with coworkers on a project, I always support their ideas and compliment them on their creativity. Encouraged, насърчавам, окуражавам. In my previous job, I encouraged my coworker to share their ideas for a new marketing strategy. My boss ended up loving it, and they had the opportunity to head the campaign. Collaborated, сътруднича. I regularly collaborated with the customer service and sales teams to refine product designs, address defects, and gauge consumer needs. Partnered, партнирам си. I partnered with a member of the marketing department to create effective job descriptions for job vacancies. Challenged, предизвиквам. I challenged my teammates to develop our ideas further before finalizing our proposal. Delegated. Давам, делегирам, упълномощавам. My teammates and I delegated tasks based on our strengths to maximize our team efforts. How to prepare for an interview. Preparing for an interview might seem intimidating, but there are several steps you can take to prepare yourself for a successful interview. Preparing for an interview primarily means taking time to thoughtfully consider your goals and qualifications relative to the position and employer. To accomplish this, you should perform research on the company and carefully review the job description to understand why you would be a good fit. Let's look at the steps to preparing for an interview. First, research your potential employer. Review the job description. Practice answering interview questions. Understand the STAR method. Dress appropriately for your interview. Think about your questions in advance. Follow up after the interview. Research your potential employer. Трябва да проучите потенциалния си работодател. Researching the company you are applying to is an important part of preparing for an interview. Not only will it help provide context for your interview conversations, but it will also help you when preparing thoughtful questions for your interviewers. Researching the company and role as much as possible will give you an edge over the competition. Not only that, but fully preparing for an interview will help you remain calm so that you can be at your best. Here are a few things you should know before you walk into your interview. Research the company culture. Modern companies usually have social media accounts and blogs that discuss their company culture and industry. This information can give you an impression of the tone and personality of the company, as well as what they value. No matter how good the job seems, it's important that you fit within the company culture and share similar personalities and values. If you have questions about the workplace environment, culture, personality, or values, be sure to ask during the interview. These questions can range from the software and tools used by the company to their policies on vacation and sick time. Remember that the interview is just as much about you finding a good fit for your own work environment as it is about the company finding a good fit for the role. Knowing that your values align with the company ensures a happy professional life. This is also the perfect opportunity to find out more about the company and show the interviewer how you'll fit in. Research the product or service. Even if the role isn't directly related to the company's product or service, you're still looking to be part of the team. It is important to learn all you can about the product or service the company produces and promotes. You don't necessarily need to understand each and every detail, especially if it's a technical product and you are interviewing for a non-technical position. But you should have a basic understanding of the main products or services the company offers. If possible, request a sample of the product to familiarize yourself with the customer's perspective. The more you can tell them about the product from both a company and customer standpoint, the better you'll perform in your interview. When preparing for an interview, keep in mind that you're trying to determine if the organization is the right fit for you, just as the interviewer is trying to select the best candidate for the role. Learn as much as you can about the organization through prior research and prepare questions that give you insight about organizational culture, leadership styles, and expectations of the position. The next step is carefully examine the job description. Трябва внимателно да проучите описанието на длъжността. During your prep work, you should use the employer's posted job description as a guide. The job description is a list of the qualifications, qualities, and background the employer is looking for in an ideal candidate. The more you can align yourself with these details, the more the employer will be able to see that you are qualified. The job description may also give you ideas about questions the employer may ask throughout the interview. Before your interview, you should have a good understanding of why you want the job and why you are qualified. You should be prepared to explain your interest in the opportunity and why you are the best person for the role. Research the role. It's important to read the job description carefully and make sure that you understand all the requirements and responsibilities that go along with it. This will not only prepare you with thoughtful, targeted questions about the position during the interview, but it will ensure that you are truly qualified and prepared to tackle the responsibilities if you get the job. If possible, research similar positions and read reviews from individuals in those positions so you can get an idea of what the day-to-day activities will be. During the interview, ask for clarification or details about the role so you can be sure you are ready should you receive a job offer. Researching the role before an interview will also help you to decide whether the position is right for you. Step 3. Consider your answers to common interview questions. Трябва да обмислите внимателно отговорите си на основните въпроси, които се задават по време на интервю. В тази секция ще се запознаем в детайли по-късно. Сега ще я разгледаме в съвсем накратко. While you won't be able to predict every question you will be asked in an interview, there are a few common questions you can plan answers for. You might also consider developing an elevator pitch that quickly describes who you are, what you do, and what you want. There are some jobs that may involve a test or evaluation during the interview process. For example, if you are interviewing for a computer programming, development, or analytics role, you might also be asked to write or evaluate lines of code. It might be helpful to consult with colleagues in the industry for examples of tests they've been given to prepare. You should also prepare to discuss your salary expectations just in case. Understand the STAR method. The STAR method is a structured technique used for answering behavioral interview questions by detailing a specific experience through 4 steps: situation, task, action, and result. It helps provide clear, concise, and compelling stories about your professional skills and experiences. Situation. Provide the necessary background or context for your story or the challenge you faced. Task. Describe the specific goal you had to achieve. Action. Detail the specific steps you personally took. Result. Explain the outcome and mention what you learned from that experience. Dress appropriately. For an interview, wear professional attire such as a suit, blazer with slacks or a skirt, or a business casual outfit like a button-down shirt with non-denim parts. Research the company's specific dress code, but err on the side of being more formal and choose clean, pressed, and well-fitting clothes in neutral colors like navy or gray. Avoid anything too casual, revealing, or distracting. It is important to make a positive and lasting impression during the interview process. You can do this by practicing a confident, strong speaking voice and friendly, open body language. While this might come naturally to you, you might also want to spend time practicing with trusted friends or family or in front of a mirror. Prepare thoughtful questions for the interviewer. Many employers feel confident about candidates who ask thoughtful questions about the company and the position. You should take time before the interview to prepare several questions for your interviewers that show you've researched the company and are well versed about the position. Some examples of questions you could ask include: What does a typical day look like for a person in this position? Why do you enjoy working here? What qualities do your most successful employees have? I've really enjoyed learning more about this opportunity. What are the next steps in the hiring process? Questions to ask in an interview. Can you elaborate on the day-to-day responsibilities this job entails? What are the characteristics of someone who would succeed in this role? What's the most important thing I could do to help within the first 90 days of employment? What are some of the challenges you've seen people in this role or in this team encounter? If I were in this job, how would my performance be measured? What does the career path for someone in this role look like? What other functions or departments does this team work with most often? What does your job look like day to day? And how would you anticipate working with the person in this role? What do you like best about working here? Here are some more examples. What does a typical day look like for a person in this position? What are your short and long-term goals for a new hire with this job title? How has this role grown or adapted to suit the needs of the organization? Why do you enjoy working here? How would you describe the company's culture? What growth does the company expect to see within the next 5 years? Can you describe some of the company's recent challenges and achievements? What qualities do you look for in a candidate? Do you have any concerns about my experience or skill set? Are there reservations regarding my fit with the role or company? I've really enjoyed learning more about this opportunity. What are the next steps in the hiring process? Thank you for explaining the role to me in such depth. When might I hear back from you regarding a decision? Има също така и някои теми, които е добре да избягвате при първо интервю. Topics to avoid. If you are still in the early stages of the interview process, avoid asking questions about salary, benefits, vacation time, or company perks. These questions should be saved for when you are formally offered the job. If you ask about these things too early, you could send a message that you are more interested in how the company can benefit you, not how you can contribute to the company. Step 7. Get ready to follow up after the interview. After your interview, you should prepare to follow up with the employer. Doing so reminds the employer of your conversation, shows them you are genuinely interested in the position, and gives you the opportunity to bring up points you forgot to mention. Here are a few steps you can follow when crafting a follow-up note. In the first paragraph, mention the specific job title and thank your interviewer. In the second paragraph, note the company's name as well as the conversation point and/or goal that seemed especially important to the person you spoke with. Connect that point to your experience and interests. In the final paragraph, invite them to ask you any additional questions and close by saying you are looking forward to hearing back. Conduct mock interviews. Just like public speaking, practicing interviews is the best way to relieve anxiety and improve your confidence. Practice may feel tedious, but repeatedly experiencing the interview process will make you more comfortable and help you give the right impression. If you have friends or family to help, conduct mock interviews as much as you can. If you don't have another person, practice your questions and answers out loud. You may find that an answer sounds awkward or doesn't convey what you wish when it's spoken, so this gives you an opportunity to refine your answers and commit them to memory. The more you repeat your interview, the more confident you'll be during the real thing. Print hard copies of your resume. Most employers ask for digital copies of your resume with the application, but they may not have easy access to it during the interview itself. Having copies to present to multiple interviewers shows that you are prepared and organized. You should have at least 3 copies to provide for multiple interviewers, plus one for yourself to follow along. During your preparation, read over your resume and rehearse explanations for any gaps that may appear or other oddities. For example, you may have taken time off work to care for a child or family member, switched careers, or had other legitimate reasons for employment gaps. This can be a concern for employers, so it's best to prepare your explanations to show them that you are not a risk. You may also encounter questions about your resume that are awkward. It's important to be honest but diplomatic in addressing them. For example, you may have left a job because of your supervisor or manager or policies that you didn't agree with, but you don't want to speak negatively about a former employer. Consider these possible questions and prepare your answers in advance so you don't accidentally say something you regret. Like the rest of the interview, it's best to prepare for these questions by writing notes and rehearsing your answers out loud multiple times prior to the interview. Prepare your travel arrangement. Job interviews tend to be stressful for most people for many reasons, but getting to the interview can be a challenge in itself. If your interview is an unfamiliar area or even an entirely new city, it can be a source of anxiety to find your way around and make sure that you show up on time. To avoid becoming too anxious for your commute, prepare yourself to ensure everything goes smoothly on the day of the meeting. Here's how. Leave early. This may seem obvious, but it's better to leave with plenty of time to get to your interview, even if it means arriving way too early. Even if you leave yourself a few extra minutes to get there, small obstacles can be enough to make you late, such as heavy traffic, accidents, no parking, or trouble finding the building. If you arrive too early, just use the time to go over your notes and mentally prepare for your interview. Save the interview contact information. Even with plenty of time for your commute, sometimes situations out of your control can still cause you to be late. If something happens and you know you'll be a little late, call your interview coordinator and make them aware of the situation. Most people are empathetic to these situations and understand that some things just can't be helped, especially if you are letting them know in advance and have a reasonable explanation. In this situation, the worst thing you could do is show up late without any notice and try to explain yourself. Search the location in advance. Most interviews are scheduled days or weeks in advance, so you have time to research the location. If your interview is close enough, you can take a day to go to the location and check out the parking. Take note of the traffic and find the suite or office where your interview will be. If you're anxious about parking or any other aspect of the location, contact your interviewer to ask them for more information. Sell yourself. One of the biggest challenges in an interview is selling yourself. Most people are uncomfortable with this idea, but presenting yourself accurately and positively doesn't have to feel like a sale. The truth is that you do have professional skills and experiences that may set you apart from other applicants, so it's acceptable and expected for you to acknowledge them to your potential employer. When you prepare for a job interview, make note of your skills that relate to the role and think of how your experience and abilities can contribute to the overall goals of the department and company. Your answers will be somewhat short, so you want to choose the most positive and relevant information to share during the interview. If you have metrics or stats to show your accomplishments or growth during your previous roles, they are a great help in selling yourself during the interview. For example, you may have increased sales by a certain percentage or increased social media engagement in your last position. Whatever accomplishments you have, don't be modest about sharing them during your interview. Your potential employer wants to know that you'll be the right fit and that you can deliver something to the company. So they need to know all the reasons that you can provide that for them. If you don't know the answer to a certain question, it's perfectly acceptable to pause for a moment and simply state, let me think about that for a moment. The employer will appreciate your taking the time to give them a thoughtful answer. Be sure to provide specific examples wherever possible. Taking time to prepare for an interview will ultimately help you feel more relaxed and confident during the process. And here are the most common questions during an interview. Here are a few examples. Why do you want to work here? The best way to prepare for this question is to learn about the products, services, mission, history, and culture of the company. In your answer, mention the aspects of the company that appeal to you and align with your career goals. Show research. Example 1. Your eco-friendly tech inspires me. I'm passionate about sustainability and see myself growing in this work environment. Example 2. I'd love the opportunity to work with a company that's making a difference. Finding a company with a positive work environment and values that align with my own has remained a priority throughout my job search, and this company ranks at the top of the list. Why do you want to work at this company? Beware of generic answers. If what you say can apply to a whole slew of other companies, or if your response makes you sound like every other candidate, you are missing an opportunity to stand out. Zhang recommends one of four strategies. Do your research and point to something that makes the company unique that really appeals to you. Talk about how you've watched the company grow and change since you first heard of it. Focus on the organization's opportunities for future growth and how you can contribute to it, or share what's gotten you excited from your interactions with employees so far. Whichever route you choose, make sure to be specific. And if you can't figure out why you'd want to work at the company you're interviewing with by the time you're well into the hiring process, it might be a red flag telling you that this position is not the right fit. Possible answer to why do you want to work at this company? I saw on the news that you were also hiring for new positions on the West Coast to support your new operations there. I did some more reading about the new data center you are building there, and that excites me as I know this means there will be opportunities to train new teammates. I also learned through a Wall Street Journal article that you are expanding in Mexico as well. I speak Spanish fluently and would be eager to step up and help liaise whenever necessary. Why do you want this job? Again, companies want to hire people who are passionate about the job, so you should have a great answer about why you want the position. And if you don't, you probably should apply elsewhere. First, identify a couple of key factors that make the role a great fit for you. For example, I love customer support because I love the constant human interaction and the satisfaction that comes from helping someone solve a problem. Then share why you love the company. For example, I've always been passionate about education and I think you're doing great things, so I want to be a part of it. Possible answer to why do you want this job? I've always been a fan of Xcode products and I've spent countless hours playing your games. I know that your focus on unique stories is what drew me and other fans into your games initially and keeps us coming back for more. I've followed Xcode on social media for a while and I've always loved how you have people in different departments interact with users. So I was psyched when I came across the posting for a social media manager with TikTok experience. At my last job, I was responsible for launching our TikTok account and growing it to 10,000 followers in 6 months. Between that experience, my love of gaming, and my deep knowledge of your games and fan base, I know I could make this TikTok account something special and exciting. What interests you about this role? Employers ask this question to make sure you understand the role and to give you the opportunity to highlight your relevant skills. It can be helpful to compare the role requirements against your skills and experience. Choose a few things you particularly enjoy or excel at and focus on those in your answer. Example: I've been passionate about user experience design for most of my professional career. I was excited to see this company uses Adobe products because I'm well versed in the entire suite. Also, I'm a huge advocate for applying agile workflows to design. I think it's the most effective way to tackle large projects. I was able to successfully build and launch an agile process in my previous role as UX manager, and we saw considerable improvements in project speed. Why should we hire you? This interview question seems forward, not to mention intimidating, but if you are asked it, you are in luck. There's no better setup for you to sell yourself and your skills to the hiring manager. Your job here is to craft an answer that covers three things: that you can not only do the work but also deliver great results, that you really fit in with the team and culture, and that you'd be a better hire than any of the other candidates. This is your pitch to shine, but you don't need to highlight your career goals here. Example: I thrive in fast-paced settings and deliver weekly updates. Perfect for your work style, you might say. My deadline-driven skill set fits your job description and I'm excited to join your team. Another possible answer to why should we hire you? I know it's been an exciting time for General Tech, growing so much and acquiring several startups, but I also know from experience that it can be challenging for the sales team to understand how new products fit in with the existing ones. It's always easier to sell the product you know, so the newer stuff can get shortchanged, which can have company-wide ramifications. I have over a decade of experience as a sales trainer, but more importantly, most of those years were working with sales teams that were in the exact same boat Gentech is in now. Growth is wonderful, but only if the rest of the company can keep up. I'm confident I can make sure your sales team is confident and enthusiastic about selling new products by implementing an ongoing sales training curriculum that emphasizes where they sit in a product lineup. What can you bring to the company? When interviewers ask this question, they don't just want to hear about your background. They want to see that you understand what problems and challenges they are facing as a company or department, as well as how you fit into the existing organization. Read the job description closely, do your research on the company, and make sure you pay attention in your early round interviews to understand any issues you are being hired to solve. Then, the key is to connect your skills and experiences to what the company needs and share an example that shows how you've done similar or transferable work in the past. Ensure you highlight relevant examples. Possible answer to what can you bring to the company? As Jocelyn talked about in our interview earlier, Popco is looking to expand its market to small businesses owners with less than 25 employees. So I'd bring my expertise in this area and my experience in guiding a sales team that's selling to these customers for the first time. In most of my past roles, this segment has been my focus, and in my current role, I also played a big part in creating our sales strategies when the business began selling to these customers. I worked with my managers to develop the sales script. I also listened in on a number of sales calls with other account execs who were selling to these customers for the first time and gave them pointers and other feedback. In the first quarter, our 10-person sales team closed 50 new bookings in this segment, and I personally closed 10 of those deals. I helped guide my last company through the expansion into small businesses, and I'm eager to do that again at Popco. Plus, I noticed you have a monthly karaoke night, so I'm eager to bring my rendition of Call Me Maybe to the theme as well. Here is another example. My problem solving and leadership skills shine under pressure, you might say. I would ensure smooth operations like I did managing a chaotic conference. Tell me about yourself, your work experience. This seems simple, so many people fail to prepare for it, but it's crucial. Here's the deal. Don't give your complete employment or personal history. Instead, give a pitch, one that's concise and compelling, and that shows exactly why you're the right fit for the job. News writer and MIT career counselor Lily Zhang recommends using a present past future formula. Talk a little bit about your current role, including uh, the scope, and perhaps one big accomplishment. Then give some background as to how you got there and experience you have that's relevant. Finally, segue into why you want and would be perfect for this role. Hiring managers often explore related topics to assess your fit. Here are some frequent questions and how they connect. Tell me about yourself. A chance to weave in strengths like creativity or collaborative work styles. This opener gives a snapshot of your background. Keep it concise, tying your work experience to the job description. Example, I spent 3 years as a bookkeeper, managing accounts payable, receivable, and payroll. I once caught a red flag, discrepancies that saved thousands. And with my CPA certification, I'm ready to excel as your public accountant. Another possible answer to tell me about yourself. Well, I'm currently an account executive at Smith, where I handle our top performing client. Before that, I worked at an agency where I was on three different major national healthcare brands. And while I really enjoyed the work that I did, I'd love the chance to dig in much deeper with one specific healthcare company, which is why I'm so excited about this opportunity with Metro Health Center. Walk me through your resume. Like, tell me about yourself. This question is a common interview opener. But instead of framing your answer around what qualities and skills make you best for the position, your answer should group your qualifications by your past jobs and tell your career story. You might choose to tell this story chronologically, especially if there's a great anecdote about what set you on this path. Or as with tell me about yourself, you can begin with your present job, then talk about what brought you here and where you're going next. But regardless, when you speak about your past and present, highlight your most relevant experiences and accomplishments for this job and wrap up by talking about the future. For example, connect your past and present together to show why this job should be the next one you add to your resume. Possible answers to walk me through your resume. Well, as you can see from my resume, I took a bit of a winding road to get to where I am today. In college, I double majored in chemistry and communications. I found early on that working in a lab all day wasn't for me, and at some point I realized I looked forward to the lab class I hated the most. So when I graduated, I found a job in sales for a consumer healthcare products company where I drew on my teaching experience and learned even more about tailoring your message and explaining complex health concepts to people without a science background. Then I moved into a sales training role as a massive company where I was responsible for teaching recent graduates the basics of selling. My trainees on average had more deals closed in their first quarter than any of the other trainers' cohorts. Plus, I got so much satisfaction from finding the right way to train each new hire and watching them progress and succeed. It reminded me of my time as a TA in college. That's when I started taking night classes to earn my chemistry teaching certificate. I left my full-time job last year to complete my student teaching at PS 118 in Manhattan, and over the summer I worked for a science camp teaching kids from the ages of 10 to 12 about basic chemistry concepts and best practices for safe experiments. Now I'm excited to find my first full-time teaching job, and your district is my top choice. The low student to teacher ratio will let me take the time to teach each student in the best way for them, which is my favorite part of the job. How did you hear about this position? Another seemingly innocuous interview question. This is actually a perfect opportunity to stand out and show your passion for and connection to the company. For example, if you found out about the gig through a friend or professional contact, name drop that person, then share why you were so excited about the job. If you discovered the company through an event or article, share that. Even if you found the listing through a random job board, share what specifically caught your eye about the role. Possible answer to how did you hear about this position? I heard about an opening on the product team through a friend of a friend, Akiko, and since I'm a big fan of your work and have been following you for a while, I decided it would be a great role for me to apply for. What are your greatest strengths? This question gives you an opportunity to talk about both your technical and soft skills. When an interviewer asks you to describe your strengths, share qualities and personal attributes, and then relate them back to the role for which you are interviewing. Example: I'm a natural problem solver. I find it rewarding to dig deep and uncover solutions to challenges. It's like solving a puzzle. It's something I've always excelled at and something I enjoy. Much of product development is about finding innovative solutions to challenging issues, which is what drew me to this career path in the first place. During a job interview, hiring managers often ask candidates to reflect on their strengths and weaknesses. This question isn't just a formality, it's a chance to showcase self awareness, highlight your best qualities, and demonstrate how you are actively improving careers that need work. A well prepared response can set you apart from other candidates and boost your chances of landing a job offer. Hiring managers pose these questions to gauge your self awareness and honesty. They want to see if you can identify your standout qualities like leadership skills or teamwork and articulate how they align with the job description. Equally important, they are assessing whether you recognize your limitations, such as procrastination or difficulty delegating, and what steps you've taken to address them. Your answer offers insight into how you fit into the work environment, collaborate with team members, and contribute to the company's goals. Preparing for this question ahead of time is a smart move, even if it's phrased differently, like tell me about yourself or what's your biggest strength. A thoughtful response can showcase your soft skills and problem solving abilities while proving you're a good match for the role. Before you can answer this question confidently, you can reflect on your abilities. Self reflection is key to pinpointing what you excel at and where you can improve. Start by reviewing your past experiences. Think about moments when you received praise from mentors, exceeded expectations in a project, or felt particularly proud of your work. These instances can reveal strengths like communication skills, time management, or being detail oriented. For weaknesses, consider the feedback you've received, tasks you've struggled with, or habits like self criticism that you're working to overcome. Writing a list of strengths and weaknesses can help you organize your thoughts. Feedback from colleagues can also provide clarity as you prepare for the job search. When discussing your strengths, clarity and specificity are your allies. Begin by stating a strength that ties directly to the role, whether it's public speaking, project management, or being a team player. Then back it up with a concise story that illustrates it in action. This approach not only highlights your hardworking nature or people skills, but also shows hiring managers how you apply these traits on the job. Below are some examples of strengths with sample answers to inspire you. Example weaknesses: self-critical, lacking confidence, difficulty asking questions, lacking experience, procrastination. Example strengths: leadership, interpersonal skills, technical skills, persistence, organization. Example 1: leadership skills. I've always been a natural leader. Over 10 years in sales, I've constantly exceeded my KPIs and earned 4 promotions. Those achievements came from building and leading diverse, high performing teams. I thrive on getting cross functional groups to collaborate effectively, and I've refined my management skills through regular 360 reviews with my team. I'm eager to further develop my leadership in this role. Example 2: collaboration skills. I'm at my best when working collaboratively. Leading project teams, I fostered environments where diverse talents shine, boosting productivity by 15% and retention by 25% over 3 years. I enjoy motivating people through creative tasks and seeing the results of our collective effort. Example 3, interpersonal skills. I'm an empathetic communicator who connects easily with others. Earlier this year, I helped a distressed customer whose insurance we couldn't reinstate. I calmly explained her options and suggested affordable providers. She later praised my service in a feedback survey, saying she'd recommend us despite the outcome. Example 4, writing skills. My strength lies in writing. With 8 years as a copywriter across industries, I balance creativity with performance metrics. I'm passionate about showing how strong writing drives results, and I've honed this skill to deliver measurable impact for every team I've joined. Example 5, organization skills. I'm highly organized and rarely miss deadlines. As a project manager for 7 years, I've had just one late launch 3 years ago. That experience taught me valuable lessons about prioritizing trade-offs, and I've applied that insight to keep every project on track since. What are good weaknesses for a job interview? Choosing the right weakness to share is a balancing act. It is genuine but not a deal breaker for the role, like limited experience in a non essential task rather than a core requirement like programming languages, if that's central to the job. The key is to show you are proactive about improving it. Avoid cliches like "I'm a perfectionist" unless you can back them up with a real story of growth. Here's how to turn a weakness into a strength with examples. Start by naming your weakness honestly. Then explain the steps you've taken to address it and the lessons learned. This shows self motivation and a positive attitude. For instance, if you struggle with public speaking, mention how you've joined a speaking group to build confidence. Example: I used to find delegating tough because I wanted everything done my way, but I realized that holding on too tightly showed progress. Now I set clear expectations and trust my team, which has improved our efficiency and my peace of mind. Some other weakness examples. Here are some examples of weaknesses you may potentially list. Disorganized. I sometimes let small details slip when juggling multiple tasks. I've tackled this by using project management tools to stay on top of deadlines. Not skilled at public speaking. Speaking to large groups wasn't my strength, so I've been practicing with the local Toastmasters club to get more comfortable. Perfectionism. I used to spend too long perfecting minor details. I've learned to prioritize what matters most and meet deadlines without over polishing. Self criticism. I can be hard on myself when things don't go perfectly. I've started focusing on what I've achieved rather than just what's left to improve. Taking on too much. I've overloaded myself in the past by saying yes to everything. Now I assess my capacity and delegate when needed. What is your greatest strength and worst weakness? Combining your biggest strengths and weaknesses in one answer can showcase your range. Pick a strength that aligns with the job, like being a quick learner or having certifications, and a weakness you've turned into a growth opportunity. Example: my greatest strength is my problem solving ability. I love breaking down complex challenges, like when I streamlined a workflow to save my team 10 hours a week. My worst weakness was procrastination on tasks I found tedious. I've countered that by setting mini deadlines, which kept me moving forward. Additional tips for discussing strengths and weaknesses. A few strategies can elevate your response. Speak confidently about your accomplishments, like leading a team or meeting deadlines, to reinforce your value. Be specific. Vague answers like "I'm hardworking" lack impact without examples. Stay honest but strategic. Don't overshare a weakness that disqualifies you. Match your strengths to the job description to show you've done your homework. What are some other common interview questions? What's your work style? Highlight traits like being detail oriented or adaptable. Give an example of a challenge you faced. Showcases problem solving and resilience. Preparing sample answers for these can reinforce your strengths and address weaknesses indirectly. What did you like most about your last position? Highlight relevance. Example: I loved the collaborative atmosphere at my last job. Working on marketing with coworkers on skills I'd bring here. What did you like least about your last position? Focus on growth. Example: my previous role had little advancement. I crave challenges, which your role offers. Why are you leaving your current job? Look forward. Example: I've gained experience, but I'm ready for more responsibility. This role is my next step. Where do you see yourself aligned with the company? For example, I am to lead a design team and streamline process. Your dynamic work environment would grow my project management skills. What are your goals for the future tied to the role? For example, I want to deepen my marketing expertise, you might say. This role's challenges would pave my career path to leadership. Can you tell me about a difficult work situation and how you overcame it? Highlight how you found a solution. Example: a key client needed a pitch when my boss was out. I reassured them via video, delivered it, and won the account, showing I can handle stressful situations. How do you handle stress and pressure during an interview? Demonstrate how you can handle pressure, ties to time management or staying calm under deadlines. Example: I break tasks into steps. Focusing on goals keeps me steady. How do you handle conflicts in the workplace? Show maturity. For example, a coworker lagged due to overlapping projects. I discussed it calmly, adjusted his load with the manager, and he thrived. What are you passionate about? Don't go into too much detail, but demonstrate something genuine. Example: I'm passionate about efficient software. Leading projects here would fuel that. What makes you unique? Hiring managers want your skills and experience. Reflect on specific examples like leadership skills or a new skill you want to demonstrate that. My ability to exceed deadlines without sacrificing accuracy stands out. In my previous job, I delivered early quarterly reports, earning a promotion. What is your greatest accomplishment? Use a realistic example you can prove. I doubled social media engagement with a low budget video. It drove conversions, showcasing my creativity. What interests you about this role? A link to the job description. Example: I love onboarding new hires and creating resources. In my current job, I've helped teammates adapt faster, and I'd bring that here. What motivates you? Be specific. Example: improving patients' lives drives me. That's why I'm eager to join your pediatrics team as a team player. How do you stay motivated throughout the job search? The job search can test your resolve, but staying motivated is paramount for interview success. Set small, achievable goals, like updating your social media profiles or practicing example answers daily to maintain momentum. Lean on mentors or peers for encouragement and celebrate wins, like nailing a mock interview. Channeling a positive attitude into your preparation can make discussing strengths and weaknesses feel less daunting and more empowering. Thank you for listening.